everyone, welcome to class. I hope you're all well. For this practice today, you're going to need 2 pillows. So the 2 pillows off your bed will do perfectly. These are the ones that I'm going to use later on. We won't use them right until the very end, so you can put them to one side. For now, we'll leave them over there. We're going to start standing up. So finding your way up to stand, solid on your 2 feet. Feeling kind of like you're standing at a foot position, a foot distance that makes sense in your body. Lovely. And we're going to start with a kind of, what I like to call a kind of whole body roll out. So we're going to work our way from the top all the way right down to the bottom. We might be here for a little while, but we'll start by, as usual, sort of dropping into the body, starting to notice how the body feels, starting to bring our awareness into this moment, into this practice right now. So just check that your feet are positioned in a way that means you can be comfortable. Maybe just soften your knees slightly so that your legs don't feel like they are gripping in order for you to stand. So you're just allowing yourself to stand in a kind of really soft way. You don't have to be rigid and upright in your perfect Shavasana. You can just let the body go a little bit. So the shoulders become a bit soft. The gaze might drop down to look at the floor. Or you might close your eyes here. And chances are, as soon as you close your eyes, you might notice a little bit of movement in the body. If there is movement, that's fine. Let the movement happen. There's no need to exaggerate it or try to stop it. You can just let it be what it is. And all we're going to do here, just for the first few minutes of our practice, is draw our attention into the body. And we'll start to keep things really simple with the soles of the feet. Notice the soles of the feet in contact with the floor. Notice the parts of the feet that press down heavily, the parts of the feet that just lightly touch, the parts of the feet that don't touch the floor at all. Notice the top of the foot. Maybe there's movement in your feet. Maybe there isn't. Notice your legs. Again, just checking in for that gripping sensation and seeing if you can let it go. Notice how the legs feel. The pelvis neatly balanced on top. Bring your attention, your awareness up into your body. Belly, chest, the back and the back of the ribs. Notice your shoulders, your arms, your hands. Notice the back of your neck, nice and long. Your head and your face. Feeling like you're building up a picture in your mind of how your body is in this moment right now. Maybe you can notice the way the breath moves the body. So when we're standing, I tend to find that rhythm of the breath is much more easy to kind of observe without changing it, because it already has an impact on the way the body moves. So just notice the way the breath moves the body. Notice it at the ribs and at the shoulders. And then when you feel ready, in your own time, you can use your next exhale breath to let your chin drop to your chest and notice how that brings with it more softness into the body. The whole body responds to that action of the chin dipping to the chest, that kind of gesture of sort of either closing in or of surrender. The whole body sort of releases just a little bit. The head doesn't have to be still. You might wiggle the head from side to side, or rock the chin backwards and forwards, or maybe my personal favourite at the moment, you might open your mouth really wide and release your jaw. And then when you feel ready, with absolutely no rush, and you might choose to keep the eyes closed, you don't have to open them, I'll talk you through it. All we're going to do is roll the chin up and along the right collarbone and look out, just skimming over the top of the right shoulder. Then we'll let the head fall back through center. Notice that softness in the whole body. And we'll do the same on the other side. The inhale draws the chin up and along the left collarbone to the left shoulder. And then the chin falls back in along that midline to the center. Same again, except for this time, as your chin rolls up and along your right collarbone, it looks just over your right shoulder and carries on. Your gaze travels across the floor, up the wall, across the ceiling overhead, down the opposite wall, moving as slowly or as quickly as you want to. The gaze eventually travels across the floor, creeps back up onto your shoulder, and the chin rolls back in down to the bottom. Same again, going the other way. This time the chin rolls up and along the left collarbone. Your gaze jumps off the left shoulder to the floor, travels along the floor, up the wall. It lifts the chin as you take in the ceiling overhead. Travels down the opposite wall, back to the shoulder, and the chin rolls back in home. We're going to do that one more time each side, just picking up the pace a little bit. So rolling up to the right shoulder, using an inhale breath to lift the chin, the gaze, to roll it through. The chin travels back down and in on the left side. And then taking it back, left side. Chin lifts along to the shoulder. The gaze lifts up and overhead. The chin rolls back in and through. Right at the very bottom here, you can blink your eyes open if they've been closed the whole time, and in your own time, when you feel ready, the arms are going to start to open out. They'll lift up and past the chest. Go really slowly into it. Maybe enjoy these big movements for the first time. The gaze eventually lifts. The arms are coming up and overhead. Or as high as you want them to. They don't have to come all the way up if wider works better for you. And as you exhale, all you're going to do is bring the arms down by the sides. Let them go completely. Let them just sort of float through the air. Nice. From here, we're going to roll out through the shoulders. So use your inhale breath to draw the shoulders right the way up to the ears. And use your exhale breath to let the shoulders fall down your back. So you're not dragging the shoulders down, you're dragging them up. The power is on that inhale, pull the shoulders up. Create tension, create tension, create tension, and then just let it fall away. So no pulling of the shoulders down the back. So it should feel like a real release. We'll go one more time. Inhale, shoulders to ears. Squeeze. Exhale, just let it go. We'll go in the other direction, which is slightly weird. You're going to bring them up the back body. And you're just going to let the shoulders fall down forwards. So one more like that. Inhale, draw them up the back body. Exhale, let them fall down forwards. It's slightly odd going in that direction. Give the shoulders just a bit of a wiggle. Whatever you feel like you need to do to allow them to just rest in their natural position, softly resting away from your ears. So not drawn up, not artificially hauled down the back body, just kind of allow them to rest where they are. And from here, we'll start to make our movements a little bit bigger, working through a circle of the arm. So when you're ready, it's an inhale and bring the right arm across the body, up and overhead. So windmilling the arm around, it comes up and past the top of the shoulder, and it reaches behind you to come down. So you're creating this kind of wheel that is slightly turned on an angle. It comes up and past the front of the body. It goes overhead, and then the wheel, keep the angle of the front of the body as you turn back to bring the arm down. I hope that makes sense. We'll go one more time in this direction, rolling it up and through. The body can move with the arm. Feel free to let the body rotate to turn as much as you need to. And then when we get to the bottom of this one, we'll change direction, bringing the arm up and back, up and overhead, and then down the front of the body. Imagine you're playing an air guitar. It comes right across the front of the body. Nice. We'll go twice more. So it's not quite a circle out to the side, and it's not quite a circle out in front, but it hopefully gets the body turning and moving just a little bit. The arm's going to come down. This time, bring the arm to rest. Let it go. Notice the difference of sensation in the right shoulder and the right arm comparing with the left. And we'll do the same on the other side. So we started off coming across in front of the body. Turn into it. Lift up and overhead. Open up and back behind you. And if this movement feels too big in your shoulder, if it feels too much, you can make it smaller. You can absolutely come up, across, and down. You can make that much smaller if you want to. If you're quite happy with the big movement, stick with the big movement. We'll go one more time in this direction. And then we'll change. When you get to the bottom of this rotation, change direction. Send the arm up and back. Up and overhead, and coming down in front. So you go for two more like this. Over and down in front. See if you can really make it what you want it to be. Make it something that feels good. This next rotation, when you get to the bottom, we'll pause. We'll stop the arm in stillness. We'll just notice how the shoulders feel. They might want a bit of a shimmy or a wiggle. Just get them back to feeling kind of natural, comfortable. From here, big inhale, draws the arms up overhead. When you're ready, notice how the shoulders lift up the back. Let them do that. That's what they want to do. Let them lift up and off the back. And then from there, we're just going to roll through the wrists this time. So the wrists are going to take their time, rolling all the way down. And you might find that actually softening the elbows here allows the shoulders to be a bit more relaxed, so you can focus all of that kind of rotating action through the wrists. Roll as big or as small as you want to, as slow or as quick as you like. Make it as flamboyant or as functional as possible. We'll go one more time. Inhale the arms overhead. Let the shoulder blades lift. And then from there, just roll in the other direction. So it might take a bit of sort of trial and error to work out which is the opposite way to whatever you had last time. But see if you can roll it in the other direction. Maybe the fingers all spread out really wide. Maybe you're rolling tight fists. Whatever feels good in your wrist. Maybe a bit of both. Maybe try everything. Maybe on the way down, it's a real kind of exploration of actions for the wrists. Roll the wrists right the way down until they're by your sides. And then let them go. Let the arms hang heavy. So we're going to switch things up. We would keep traveling down the body, but I want to just get to the feet first. So we're going to roll through the sole of the foot. Take the right foot just slightly out in front. Lots of you have done this before, I think. Bringing the right foot just slightly out in front. I've got socks on, which is going to make, hopefully, this a bit easier to see. So what I'm going to do is tilt on my foot. So just my little toe is touching down on the ground. With just my little toe touching down on the ground, I'm going to roll through my toes until all 5 toes press into the floor. Then I'll lift my little toe, big toe touches the ground. Roll up the inside arch of the foot. It might not all make contact, it probably won't. Roll across the heel to the outside arch of the foot. And then your outside arch rolls down into the mat until you're back where you started with just the little toe touching down. You can keep that going. So you can make this as quick or as slow as you like. You can put as much pressure through the foot into the floor as you want to. Something to kind of watch out for is the way the body wants to move while this is happening. Let the body do whatever it wants to do. So I find I come through a sort of little kind of half squat as I roll back in. Allow the knee and the hip to move quite freely. So we're getting good kind of rolling action through the whole leg, even though your focus is on rolling the foot. We'll change direction. So roll the foot the opposite way, which is big toe to little toe, if you haven't already. Keeping that kind of steady articulation, moving through it. If there's something that you really like that feels really great, linger there, pause there, feel free to enjoy that. Get stuck into it. We'll go for One more roll of this foot, pressing into the floor. And then we'll bring the right foot back to match up with the left, and just notice how in contact you feel with the feet. Notice how maybe the right foot feels a bit more responsive, like you're a bit more aware of how that right foot is and what's going on there. We'll step the left foot just out in front and do the same on the left hand side. So taking the left foot just out in front, so it's not a massive step. You're not stepping into a lunge and making things difficult for yourself. It's literally just goes in front so that you can get light on those toes. We'll start the same as before with just the left little toe touching down on the ground, and we'll roll through all 5 toes. There'll be a moment where they all press down into the floor. That might feel quite nice. That's one of my favourite bits. And then the left little toe will lift. Then the big toe rolls through to the inside arch of the foot, across and through the heel, outside arch of the foot. And you just keep that going. Allow this movement to happen at the knee and the hip. So I'm sort of exaggerating these movements a little bit because the foot is quite small and I want you to be able to see what kind of is going on in the body, in my body. But feel free to exaggerate the movements if that really works for you. If coming through this in a kind of big dramatic way is interesting, get your hands involved. Why not? We'll change direction after this next roll if you haven't already. So just switching back, we'll roll big toe to little toe. There might be bits of the foot that make kind of crunchy, gritty noises as you press them into the floor. That's okay, as long as it feels good, as long as it feels like a kind of delicious foot massage type sensation. We'll go maybe one more roll in this direction. And then we'll bring ourselves gently back. Left foot comes to match up with the right foot. You're solid on your 2 feet, just noticing how they feel. Notice how the feet feel here. And then we'll tap into that movement kind of through the whole body. So coming to the spine for our final kind of element of this full body kind of roll through. I'll show you it from the side. Some of you will have done this before. In fact, I think a lot of you will have done this before with me. I'm not wearing the best clothes for you to see what's going to happen, but you're just going to soften the knees gently. Soften the knees slightly. I want you to think about your inhale, drawing the chest primarily up and forwards, but the arms can help. So it's an inhale to draw the arms up and overhead, the chest up and forwards. The arms sort of open out as they come up. I'm arching in the spine. Your exhale, you're going to round and pull the belly in. So creating that kind of wave effect in the body. I find that bending my knees more here makes that make more sense. Your inhale opens up, lifts the chest. You're rippling in just the spine. Exhale, pulls the belly in, rounds you in. You can take this small if you want to. You might start small and build yourself up. I want you to watch out for the temptation to jam your hips forwards and back bend here. We're trying not to come into that. We're seeing if we can just find a lift of the chest. Exhale, pulls the belly in and you round in. Creating that kind of wave in the body, that ripple. So maybe you can start to thread the 2 movements together so they're not so disjointed, so they make sense. That dive over the top of the wave is as though you're kind of diving off the high board. That opening out lifts the chest, lifts the gaze, soften the shoulders away from the ears if you can. We'll go for sort of one more full wave at your own pace, in your own time. And on your next big dive over the top, keep diving. Dive in over the top, tuck the chin, bend the knees and roll your way all the way down into a forward fold. And once you get down into your forward fold, I'd love for you to keep moving. Maybe you find that pedaling out the legs is the right answer. Maybe a shake of the head or a swing from side to side is what you're looking for. Move the body however you like, but see if you can keep that rhythm of the breath kind of informing the movement a little bit. Don't forget, you've also got your option, as always, of grabbing the elbows if you want it. I have to confess, it's not my favourite thing, so I often forget to include it as an option, but I know that it is it's definitely up there as a favourite for some people, and if you need it, this is your moment to enjoy it. When you feel Like you've had a bit of a wiggle here, you've pedaled out through the legs, you've given the head a bit of a shake, you've done whatever you need to do. We'll all meet back together in stillness in our forward fold with the arms hanging heavy. From here, the fingertips are just going to come out slightly in front of the feet, so they're going to do you some proper solid support. As you roll body weight forwards into the toes, lift the heels and bring yourself down into a little squat pose. So you're up on the toes. You've got the sensation of the heels dropping towards the floor, but they absolutely do not have to be down on the floor. In fact, for where we're going now, it's probably better if the heels are lifted. And we're just going to rock through the feet using these fingertips as our support. So we're just going to think about rocking body weight back. Oh, the heels are a bit more interested in the floor. Rocking body weight forwards, rolling right up onto the tips of the toes. So similar to when we were standing, we're thinking about kind of smooshing the ball of the foot into the floor. Doing your best not to put tons of pressure down through the hands. See if you can keep the hands light, and maybe you could think about using a little bit of your kind of belly muscles to draw the knees back in towards the chest on that rock back. So we'll just keep that rock happening for a couple more breaths. If you like this action, you can stay here. If you are interested in a stiller yin type shape, you're going to rock your body weight back. You're going to separate your knees out wide, the direction they probably want to go in, and walk your fingertips forwards. You can let your head hang there. So tucking yourself into this quite small, compact squat shape might feel too intense, and if it does, you're welcome to come back up higher, support yourself on your hands. If you're quite happy here, take another breath here. And then when you feel ready, fingertips are going to creep you in. If you've been out, stretch, drawing the knees gently back together, bringing you to upright. Use these fingertips out in front to very gently lower your knees to the ground. Go gently, 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 carefully. Knees find the floor. Hands plant down, palms of the hands on the mat, and all you're going to do is send your right knee back a bit, your left knee back a bit, and we'll meet in all fours. Meeting in all fours, just take a moment to check in on your setup. Feel free to pop some padding underneath your knees if you want that, just to give yourself a little bit of support. We're not going to be on all fours for too long, but we are going to be down on the knees for a little bit of time, so it might be worth just giving the knees a little bit of extra padding. Once you've found yourself in your comfortable position with the hands spread wide, we'll make our way through that ripple in the spine, that cat-cow one more time, inhaling to drop the belly low, to lift the tailbone, broaden the collarbones and lift the gaze. We'll exhale to tuck the chin, to round in, pull the belly button towards the spine, look back towards the knees. And just keep that going. So stick with your breath, move at your pace. There is no hurry. Take this as slowly or as quickly as you like. And then if you're interested, you could start to add a bit more of a dynamic element to the rest of the body here in your cat-cow. So the next time you come through your rounded back, why not push off your hands and kind of arch your back, sending your hips towards your heels, so that you could maybe pull through, bent elbows, chest dips, and rolling your way into the kind of cat stretch, the belly low. The arch will round and take you back. If this isn't interesting, you're welcome to stick with your regular cat-cow. If you're interested in including the whole body, this is a nice way to get there. So almost as if you're drawing a big circle from the side with the body, pulling the chest through. The chest leads the way as you come into that arched back. If you can, you're going to reverse the direction. You'll go low belly to the hips, low belly, hips to heels. You'll pull up and forwards in your rounded back. Stick the tailbone up in the air, reach the hips back to the heels. Pull the belly in, arch the back, use the space between the shoulder blades to lead the way as you come forwards and through. We'll go one more time, stick the tailbone up in the air, drag the bum back to the heels. Very nice, pull the belly in. The space just behind the heart draws you up forwards and through, and we'll meet back in neutral. Find your way to neutral we'll just give the hands a bit of a breather. So if you want to, you're welcome to tuck the toes. If your toes have had plenty of action already, you can leave the toes untucked, but we're just going to walk back and sit hips to heels. We'll sit hips to heels just briefly and give the hands a bit of a break. So you might want to just give the wrists a shake. Maybe you want to press back to the hands against each other or against the floor, could feel nice. You can move the hands however you like. And we'll just pause here. If you're up on your toes, fantastic. If your toes are flat on the floor, that is also a great place to be. When you feel ready, you're going to inhale both arms up and overhead. You're going to catch hold of your right wrist with your left hand. You're going to lengthen on another inhale. And as you exhale, see how it feels to draw yourself across into a side stretch here. Maybe you want to tip a little bit of body weight over towards your right heel, if that's interesting. When you feel like you're done with that side, use your exhale to ease off. Switch hands. Inhale, lengthen through your left wrist. Draw yourself up and over. And there's no hurry. There's no hurry. If you're still on your right because it just feels like the best thing ever, stay there. If you've rushed through to your left because you hate it, you're welcome to let it go whenever you want to. When you feel ready, you'll exhale to ease off. Inhale, both fingertips to the ceiling. Exhale, both hands come down to the floor out in front of you, drawing you back onto your all fours. Actually, no, we'll stay here. Back onto your all fours, and you're going to think about extending out through your right leg to the side of the room. Right leg extends out to the side, let the right toes spill out to the side. So they're going to point off to about 45-degree angle. Lots of you have been here before with me as well. Drag your right heel in until your right knee stacks directly over your right knee stacks directly over your right ankle. You've got a roughly straight line at your hip. If I get my body out of the way, you can see I've got roughly a right angle at that right knee. So with the knee in this position, we'll just start to find, as usual, a little bit of movement here. So maybe drawing forwards and pressing back. Maybe shifting the hips from side to side is nice. Maybe you want to come up high on the toes or lift the toes off the floor of that right foot. Don't forget, hands aren't glued to the floor. They just about never are. So you can take yourself off to the side. Your left knee is pretty much the only part of the body that we really need to stay where it is for stability. In fact, I'd hazard a guess that if you needed to, you could come up onto just your left knee. You can test it for fun, you don't need to. Once you feel like you've found a bit of space in that right hip, you found a bit of movement that is interesting, you might start to make it bigger with the addition of the right arm. The right arm sweeping up and open. However you like, you might think about beginning to bring some movement into the body, starting from that right hand. Maybe it reaches towards the back of the room. Maybe it reaches towards the front of the room. You can open through the chest. You can bring the hand onto the lower back. You might go for a kind of twisted version of your thread the needle here, bringing the hand under and through. You might take the arm out in front. It might travel around the body on the floor. You might keep things very low. Move as freely as you are able to. And as I often say, if you really feel like you've got stuck and your sort of brain's got in the way and you're going, I don't really know what to do next, just do the same thing again and again and again until something else pops up. So it might be that you just find the same action or you draw a big circle in the air until something else just feels like it's the right place to go to. We'll take a last breath on this side. We'll take a last breath in this movement. Doing your favourite thing one more time maybe. And then when you feel ready, just going to turn it around so you can see me, you'll bring the right hand gently back to the floor. Just if you can, turn your right toes right the way out so they point towards the side of the room. And just check your right heel is roughly in line with your left knee. Your fingertips are going to walk in and you're going to bring yourself up to upright in this position. Once you've got yourself there, think about squeezing and activating your right glute to just nudge your right hip forwards in space so your right knee can point in the same direction as your right toes. Lovely. From here, it's as simple as it seems. We're going to rest the right elbow on the right knee. And when you feel ready, you'll stroke the left arm up the left side of the body. And as it comes up, I want you to imagine you're trying to telescope your ribs away from your hip. When you feel ready, maybe you choose to extend the left arm up and overhead. So you're bringing yourself into a big side stretch down the left-hand side of the body. So now, as well as having the right glute slightly switched on to keep the right knee from kind of falling into center, we're also going to want to switch the left glute on a little bit. Just a slight squeeze in your left bum cheek is going to open up the front of the left hip. Keep it gentle. There's no need to really power through. You don't have to look up. You can keep the head really relaxed. Take a big breath here. And then when you feel ready, you're going to let this left arm come down to find your left hip. Push away with your right hand, so you're bringing the body back to upright. Go really carefully through your left knee as you turn to face your right knee. It doesn't matter if you've turned away from me, but you should be bringing yourself into something like your low lunge. Nice. If you need to get up, readjust, you can. If having the left knee down on the ground is not for you, doesn't work for you, feel free to do this in a standing lunge instead. All we are going to do is just find a bit of movement here. And it might be that your fingers find the floor. It might be that they don't need to, and you're quite happy to just move a little bit here without the hands down. It might be that you're standing and you're seeing how it feels to just roll through the feet. You can play with the angle of this right knee as long as you're pretty comfortable in that knee there. So maybe it comes across, maybe it opens out to the side a little bit as you sink in. You can kind of point that knee in different directions as long as you've got enough control to bring it back from that place thereafter. So nothing super fancy here, just a little bit of a wiggle in the leg. And then we'll find ourselves back in neutral in our low lunge, or our high lunge if you're standing. We'll bring our fingertips to the floor to help keep us stable as we tuck the left toes underneath. We're going to pop the left knee off the floor and just for a moment, see how it feels to move here with the knee lifted. A little bit of a wiggle, maybe a roll through the feet. When you feel ready, step the left foot up to match the right foot. You're back in your forward fold, hanging out over the legs. And you might pedal out here. You can keep moving if it suits you. You can drop into stillness if you'd rather. Keeping it really kind of relaxed, sticking with the rhythm of your own breath. When you feel ready, you're going to bring the fingertips to the floor to stabilize you, and you're going to come up high on the tiptoes. As you lower yourself down into your squat, remember where we were before, you've got that action of the heels being maybe slightly interested in the floor, but not desperate to touch. The heels are reaching down, they're quite happy, lifted, if that feels good. And we're just going to take that rock in the other direction this time. So use the fingers to support you if you need them to, but we're going to rock the knees down to the ground and then lift them back up. So we're not rocking the body weight right back into the heels and we're not focused on the feet. Instead, we're thinking knees to touch down, knees to lift back up. There's still a bit of action at the toes, but hopefully not as intense through the Achilles heel. If you don't need the hands, you might see how it feels to control that. It might go one knee then the other, mine often does. Up and away from the floor. Try then leading with the opposite knee. Up and away from the floor. We'll go for maybe one more. Nice. And then we'll bring the hands down to the mat. We'll gently guide both knees down to the floor so they land really carefully. And then we're stepping back. Just shuffling both knees back a bit to find ourselves on all fours. On our all fours this time, we're going straight into that base 4 free movement. We'll skip the cat-cow because we've been there. We're going to send the left leg out to the side. We're going to let the left toe spill out 45-degree angle, or as much as they want to. And then as though somebody just hooked the back of your heel, the heel drags in along the mat until it stacks just underneath the left knee. So if I get my body out of the way, you can see roughly a right angle at that left knee. And then once you've got yourself in that position, feel free to start to move. So maybe just the hips nudging forwards and backwards. Maybe the hands start to travel. Both hands can travel at the same time. They can come across one direction, maybe in towards the body, maybe they go the other way. You can come up on the toes. You could lift onto the heel, whatever you like. And then when you feel like you've kind of got to grips with it, maybe you start to think about using the left hand to make bigger movements or to enable more movement here. Maybe you draw big circles. Maybe, don't forget your voice, but this is a lovely option. Cradling the head with the hand. It's a nice place to be. Maybe the hand finds the lower back, or you're going for that thread the needle variation. Your right hand can still move if it needs to. It might need to move a little bit less, but it can still travel around if you want it to. If you get stuck in your own head, maybe just try one thing. Just do one thing again and again until it feels like you've got to grips with where might be the next natural place to go. And then when you feel ready, we'll take maybe one final breath here, do your favorite thing one more time. And then we'll bring ourselves back. Left hand is going to find the floor, just so we can temporarily check the positioning of that left foot. If it's travelled around and moved a lot, make sure heel is roughly in line with knee. Your left toes are going to point straight out to the side this time, so they're pointing, they're making a right angle with your left leg, with your right leg, sorry. And you're going to walk your hands in, bringing yourself up to stand on your right knee. Switch it around so you can see me. Bringing yourself up to stand on your right knee. You're switching on left glute slightly. You're powering up right glute just a little bit, but we'll need that one a little bit more in a minute. Left elbow comes to find left knee. So finding yourself in quite a relaxed position here. And then when you feel ready, it's the right hand that begins to travel. And as it comes up, the reason for that stroke up the body is it gets the right shoulder back and it peels the chest open. And you can use the right hand to telescope the ribs away from one another, and eventually the right hand might travel up and overhead. Keep the left shoulder soft, keep the right shoulder away from the right ear as best you can. Bringing yourself into that big side bend. Breathing is nice and steady. You don't have to look at your top hand. If it feels great. It might feel like too much on the neck. When you feel ready, take a last inhale breath here. Use your exhale breath to bring the right hand back, the right hip. Left hand is going to lift to the left hip, so you're coming up and out of the side bend in a careful way. You're going to turn on your right knee. Really, really careful when you're turning on your knee. You've got the option of, if your knee is pretty comfortable and safe, you can just turn on your knee if that feels okay. If that doesn't feel okay, take your toes out to the side, lift your knee into the new position, and then you can let your toes go again. We'll find ourselves in our low lunge here, or if you don't like having the right knee down, high lunge is totally a good option. And we're just going to start to find some movement. Maybe it's fingertips on the floor as you travel in that lunge. It's going to be one of those, if you've not already guessed, it's one of those practices today where I don't give you very much instruction at all. Fingertips might not be on the floor. You might want to just see how it feels to move through the knee, through the leg quite freely. You can take the body in different directions. You can take the knee in different directions. So it doesn't have to travel directly forwards and backwards, as long as you can control pulling away from the movement, you will be in a safe place with that knee. So as long as you've got enough power to bring yourself back, you're not going to find yourself right out in your end range of movement without any way of getting back. We'll go for one more breath or so here. We'll bring fingertips to the floor. Tuck your back toes, pop your back knee off the floor if it's not already, and just a little moment of movement here. So this has got the potential to get very fiery very quickly. So we're just going to keep it brief, but just see how it feels to roll through the foot, through the knee, through the leg when it's lifted. When you feel ready, we'll bring the right foot up to match the left. The right foot comes to match the left, you're back in your forward fold, hanging out long over the legs. When you feel ready, there is no hurry here. You're going to take as long as you like to wiggle and pedal, breathe and stretch and whatever else makes sense for you. But when you feel ready, we're going to come back to that imaginary paddling pool filled with bubble liquid. We're going to dip our hula hoop in the paddling pool, grab a hold of it with both hands, and your aim for this first one is to just draw as smooth a bubble as you possibly can up and around your whole body. So really smooth, drawing that bubble up and past your face, up and overhead. Release the hands. As you exhale, bend your knees as much as you need to, sweep your way back down to that paddling pool. We're going for a couple more like this, and we'll allow it to kind of get progressively stickier. So maybe this time the bubble is made from golden syrup and it's going to take a bit more effort. You need to push down with your feet. You might have to have a bit of a wiggle here as you try and get that bubble up and over the body. Notice how the knees kind of straighten out, the thighs power up, the glutes switch on, the belly lengthens out. You're dragging the bubble up and over the chest. It comes up and past the face. You'll release the hands and bring the arms gently down by the sides. We'll do the same thing again. Big inhale draws the arms to the top. Exhale, dive your way down, bend your knees as much as you need to. Sweep your way back down. This time, somebody's poured a whole load of cement mixture in here, and it is the stickiest, it is the kind of gloopiest bubble mixture that you can imagine. You've got to drag that hula hoop up and over the body. Keep it smooth as best you can, but you might need to wiggle here to get it up and past the body. Comes up and past the chest, draws up and over your face. Eventually at the top, you'll release the fingertips. The hands are going to come down by the sides. Nice. Maybe a roll of the shoulders if you feel like you need it. Wiggling your way back into kind of standing stillness. And we'll drop ourselves back into that wave. So you've been here before, you know how it feels. When you feel ready, you can get straight into it. Maybe softening the knees gently, using your inhale to draw the chest up and open. Using your exhale to dive off the top board, pull the belly button in. So we're not sticking here for that long, but we're just using this as a kind of little place to drop back in. You can make it as big or as small as you like. You can make it as kind of expressive or as simple as makes sense. Next time you draw yourself up to the top, I want you to pause there with the arms up overhead, the chest lifted. And imagine you're just scooping up the corners of your cape. Some of you have done this before. You're going to start to swish your cape. So swishing your cape from side to side, you'll find that wave transitions into a side bend in the body. And again, you can make this as big or as small as you want to. Maybe the cape is heavy and it takes quite a lot of power to swish it up and through. Maybe the cape is very light and you're just working in the arms, just a gentle turn of the face. So you choose how big and kind of extravagant you want to move here with this. I'm going to go for a couple more breaths, I think, unless I just get carried away. Stay here forever. And we'll then draw ourselves gently back to both arms lifted, chest lifted, top of the wave. Exhale, dive your way in, all the way down to a forward fold. Soften through the knees until you get right the way down to the bottom of this forward fold. And you can move if you want to. Doesn't have to be still. When you feel ready, catch the wave of an inhale breath, slide the hands up the front of the legs, draw yourself into a very gentle halfway lift. Exhale to let it go. Fold the body in. From here, your fingertips are going to come to the mat to stabilize you, and you're going to send your right leg long back behind you. The right leg is stepping all the way back, and we're going to bring ourselves up into our lunge, but take your time with it. Don't feel like you need to hurry getting there. And you can walk your hands up your leg if you think there's a risk of a wobble or of a head rush. And once you've got yourself up to your lunge, your hands can be wherever you like. So they can come to the chest, they can come to the hips, or if you're feeling really very strong, you're welcome to put the hands overhead. And all we're going to start to do is find movement here, very similar to when we were in our low lunge, but I want you to think about movement led by different parts of the body. So we're going to start with movement led by the feet. So you might start by thinking of rolling off the back toes, pushing back towards the back toes. So imagine all of the power from this movement comes from the soles of the feet. You can rock it backwards and forward. It doesn't matter if you have a bit of a wobble, by the way. If you have a wobble and need to touch down, or if you need to hold onto the wall the entire time while you're doing this, that's allowed. Totally fine. All we're looking for is interesting kind of movement led by the feet. Woo! When you feel like you've got to grips with how the feet are, see if you can switch that movement. So it is now going to be led by your pelvis. I'm just going to tuck this in so you can see where I'm going, in case you need to feel like you need to see. So see if you can lead the movement with the hips. And it becomes a different thing. And it moves in a different way. And maybe the hips travel from side to side. Maybe the hips are reaching back and then tailbone is tucking under. See if you can lead the movement from here, from the pelvis, from the hips. Takes quite a lot of concentration. It's very hard to talk and do. And then from there, you're going to switch it up. One more, second to last one. See if you can lead the movement with the center of your chest. See if you can lead the movement with your heart. So it really draws forwards. It maybe punches back. It can open to the side. Don't forget you've got this kind of turning plane as well as coming forwards and backwards. And then your last one, before we bring ourselves back to some stillness, is see if you can lead the movement with your hands. So this one maybe makes a bit more sense to us. Maybe it feels a bit more natural to lead movement in this position with the hands. Maybe it can be a bit more dynamic if that's what you want. You can move in any way you like. I'm just giving you a base. We'll go for maybe one more breath here. And then we'll bring ourselves back, fingertips to find the floor. Fingertips to find the floor. Send the left foot back to match the right foot, and immediately let the knees find the mat. Send the hips back to the heels, let the forehead find the floor. You're dropping into your child's pose. Doesn't have to be still. You're welcome to rock or to roll the forehead against the mat. You can make a pillow for the forehead with the hands if it doesn't quite meet the floor. Let the body go. Let the breath come back. If it felt like it had got a bit short or if the heart rate had lifted slightly, just allow yourself this moment to drop back into stillness, to drop back into your easy rhythm. And then when you feel ready, and there's no hurry, no rush at all, you're going to press the hands into the floor and tucking your toes underneath you, push the knees away from the mat so you find yourself in that little squat that we were in before. We're going to use this squat to bring ourselves back, fingertips supporting the whole time to our forward fold. Long over the legs. Relax yourself long over the legs. Maybe a bit of a wiggle, a bit of a stretch, whatever you feel like you need. And then in your own time, grabbing hold of that hula hoop in the bubble mixture, push the floor away, rise to stand, wiggle your way through the whole body. Maybe you go slow and it's sticky, maybe you go smoothly. Release the arms overhead, release the hands overhead, sorry. Exhale, the hands are coming down by the sides. If you're right at the back of your mat, take a couple of steps forwards and we'll meet back at the top. We're going to do exactly the same thing, but on the other leg. And it might be that there was a part of that that made loads of sense to you, and it might be that there's a part of that that just really didn't at all and felt like a real horrible challenge. And if that's the case, you can skim past those bits. Now that you know where we're going, now that you know where our kind of touch points in the body are, you can test them. And if they feel really uncomfortable and they're kind of push you into a place that you're not quite keen on going, you can move on and do the next one instead. So find yourself at the top of your mat. The mat's gone on a bit of a journey over towards the side of the room. There we go. That's it better. 2 feet solid, side by side. When you feel ready, we're dropping back into that wave. So we'll find the inhale to lift the chest. The exhale to dive in. Stick with that. A couple of breaths here, rippling through the back body. On your next exhale, whenever it happens, dive the body in all the way down. Soften the knees as much as you need to. Maybe you move at the bottom. When you feel ready, catch the wave of an inhale breath, rise up to your halfway lift. Exhale, fold the body in. Fingertips to stabilize as you send your left leg back behind you. And all we're doing is stepping our way to our lunge on the left-hand side. So adjust, adjust, adjust. Feet can be on train tracks here. It's going to be pretty difficult to come up on a tightrope. So make sure you've got your left foot a little bit of a distance away from your right foot, she says, having a wobble. You keep it soft to start with. It doesn't have to be really intense to start with. And we're going to begin with the feet. So imagine the movement driven by the soles of the feet. Maybe you find the front foot pushes you back. Maybe the back foot drives you forward. You can come up on those front toes if that's interesting. Allow the movement to roll through the soles of the feet. And same as when we were standing and we were rolling out the ankles, you can allow the foot to roll. Different parts of the body may be in contact with the floor. Same for the back foot. So a movement here, driven by the feet. You need to hold on to something, please hold on to something. Totally fine. If you need to grab the back of a chair or the wall, anything else that allows you to just find that movement in a bit of a freer way. Maybe the wobble is fine and you're embracing it, having a bit of a giggle. That's okay too. From there, we'll transition up the legs and we'll see if we can find the movement, just tuck this in, led by the pelvis. So see if you can find that tilt and tuck and roll of the tailbone. Feels like it makes this movement a bit more spidery for me. There's something about it that becomes a bit sort of creepy crawly. See if you can nudge left hip forwards, right hip forwards. They don't have to travel at the same time. Maybe one is coming forwards while one is going back. You can draw some kind of figure eights with the pelvis. There's a tilt of the tailbone, there's a tuck underneath of the tailbone. And then we'll lift up again, and we'll see if we can lead that movement with the center of the chest, with the heart. Find this maybe the trickier one to tap into. Once you sort of got it going, it does start to make a bit of sense. And then when you feel ready, we'll switch it up one more time and switch to the movement led by the hands. The hands are quite capable here, I think, of leading the movement in any direction that they see fit. They're not so subtle as the rest of the body was. So you can really kind of get stuck into movements powered up by the hands. Woo. Maybe one last bit of movement here, whatever feels right for you. And then we'll dive the fingertips right the way down to the floor. Exactly the same as we did last time. We're stepping our right foot to match our left. We're releasing our knees gently to the floor. And we're sitting back, hips to heels. You can move if you want to. Something that feels quite nice is a little roll of the forehead across the mat, as if you were smoothing out any tension there. And then when you feel ready, and there is no hurry, you're going to drag the hands gently in towards the knees, roll yourself up to kneeling. And from this kneeling position, we're going to grab a hold of our cushions. So if they've got miles away from you, feel free to hop up and grab them. If you can just reach them, grab them and pull them in. They're going to go just out in front of you, stacked one on top of the other. Nothing fancy about what we're doing with the cushions here. We're just going to use them to unwind the body in the same way that we would usually just relax against the floor, but there's something that kind of adds a lovely element of softness when we bring the cushions in. So we're going to come to sit side saddle with your knees pointed over towards, you guys go knees pointed towards your right, just so that we're kind of going clearly in the same direction. I'll mirror you. So you're going knees pointed towards your right, sitting on your left sit bone, should be about right. But if you've gone the other way, it doesn't matter. You can let the top knee spill away from the bottom knee as much as you like, as much as you want to. Fingertips are going to come just forwards of the body to support you on the floor. As you inhale, lengthen up. As you exhale, use the hands to turn your way round to face the cushions. We'll inhale again for length. And use your exhale to release your body down onto the cushions. And as you come down onto the cushions, you'll notice how much naturally you want to turn towards them or how much you want to come down on your side. Allow the body to find the degree of rotation that suits it here. Bring yourself down. Bring yourself down. Maybe scooch your hands underneath the cushions a little bit so you can give them a bit of a hug. And your choice here about what happens with the head. Maybe you look in the same direction as the knees. Maybe you look in the opposite direction to the knees, bringing that twist all the way up into the cervical spine, the back of the neck. Or maybe you like the sensation of the forehead gently resting against the cushions, the face turned down. Totally your choice. You choose the position of the head that suits you best. And you're going to let the body go here. You're going to let the body become completely soft, fully supported by the cushions underneath you, by the mat underneath you. And you might notice that as you breathe in, the breath in ripples up the spine in a kind of spiral shape. So from the belly, through the rib cage, to the back of the chest. And on your exhale, it reverses down, reversing down the back body and taking softness all the way through with it. So softening the shoulders, the back of the chest and the belly. See if you're able to follow that breath. You can let the eyes gently drift closed if that feels comfortable. You can let the gaze go really soft and relaxed. Let the cushions and the floor do the work of holding you in this twist. When you feel ready, and there's absolutely no rush, no hurry at all, but when you feel like it's the right moment to do so, just slide the hands in so that they're underneath your shoulders. With the hands underneath the shoulders, keep the head nice and heavy. Maybe the gaze stays soft or the eyes stay closed. You'll push the floor away. Draw yourself up and away from the cushions. You guys are going to turn towards your right sit bone so that you're turning away from the cushions. And what should happen is you end up with your lower back up against the ends of the cushions, the soles of your feet on the floor. If that's not happened, this is the position we're going to meet in. You're going to hold on to the bottom of the cushions, just gently squish them down under your bum and just allow the body to unwind in between by just releasing back. So with the soles of the feet on the floor, you might want to just gently let the knees fall in towards one another. The hands can rest wherever they feel comfortable. And we're just going to pause here. So nothing super fancy, just letting the body go. Feeling that slight lift of the chest, that slight open sensation in the front of the body. allowing the body to fill up with breath. And when you feel ready, absolutely no hurry, take your time. You'll gently roll yourself in the direction of one side, whichever is your favourite side. You'll bring that hand down to the floor and use the hand and the elbow to just gently roll yourself through to seated. So you're not coming kind of to bolt upright sit. And now from here, we'll turn and sit on the sit bone that we haven't yet. So you guys will sit, I think, on your right sit bone with your knees pointed left. So we're turning the body in the opposite direction, basically. So just turning to the side that you haven't yet. We'll start as usual, but just letting the knees spill to wherever they need to be. Let them be nice and soft. Fingertips to support us on the floor as we take that long inhale for length. Use the hands as you exhale to turn. Inhale again for more length. Exhale to release the body down onto the cushions. And it might take a bit of squishing to get the cushions into the right position under the body. You might want to kind of hug them in. That might feel really nice. Arms can tuck in underneath. And your choice about what happens with the head. Maybe you look in the same direction as the knees. Maybe you look in the opposite direction to the knees. Maybe you release the forehead down into the cushions, keeping the face turned in. Whatever you've changed in the shape, just make sure that you're allowing the body to be soft. You're not changing things to make it feel more intense. It doesn't have to feel intense. We pause here so that a soft shape can have its time to be an effective shape. So that's why we spend a little longer. Just letting the breath unwind the body. Spiraling through the belly, the ribs, the back of the chest. And then reversing, taking softness with it, the shoulders, the chest, the belly. Hand over all the work of holding you up to the cushions and the floor. When you feel ready, and there's absolutely no rush. If you're very happy here, you can stay here if you want to. You don't have to move on. But if you do want to move on, draw yourself into a more conventional version of your Shavasana. We'll slide the hands in underneath the shoulders. We'll keep the head heavy and gently push the floor away. From here, this time, you've got choices. You could either turn away from the cushions and release the body down exactly the same way we did before with the cushions behind your back, or you could turn towards the cushions, flip them around so they're horizontal and bring the cushions to support the backs of the knees. So you've got options. Either you lay over the cushions the same way we did in the middle between the two twists, or you release yourself down with the cushions supporting the backs of the legs. The cushions supporting the backs of the legs like this should allow for total softness at your lower back. If you want to grab a blanket or socks or a jumper, you're welcome to do that. When you feel ready, drop yourself into the version of Shavasana that suits you, that works for you here, that allows you to really let the body go, let the shoulders go soft. Let the face relax. Let the legs and hips be heavy. Give the weight of your body over to the floor, over to the cushions. Feel your body becoming heavy and soft. Your bones sinking softly into the earth underneath you. The skin of your face melting and releasing, dropping that tension. If you are able to scan through the body and just seek out any final little pockets of tension, see if you're able to let them go. And when the body has become really heavy, really soft and relaxed, see if you can encourage the mind to join it, becoming heavy, soft and relaxed. Gently draw your attention, your awareness back to your breath without feeling the need to move. See if you can breathe and feel the inhale rushing through the nose, lifting the collarbones and the chest, bringing with it into the body new, fresh energy, prana, or life force. Enough energy, maybe, to start to power a wiggle of the fingertips, a point and flex and stretch of the feet, the toes spreading out. Maybe you want to roll the wrists and the ankles. Maybe you want to turn the head from side to side. Whatever suits you. Move the body in ways which feel good, in ways which feel kind. Maybe it's a giant stretch of the arms reaching up and overhead, the toes stretching away from the fingers. Maybe you want to draw the knees in towards the chest and give yourself a bit of a hug. When you feel ready in your own time, Gently roll yourself onto your side. And just pause there. And from that place, pressing the floor away, bring yourself carefully up to sit. Finding a comfortable position where you're able to be soft, to let the body relax, maybe keeping the eyes closed or the gaze cast down towards the floor. Just taking these final few moments to really soak up every last drop of your practice. You can seal your practice however you like. Maybe you want to bow the head to the heart or bring the hands to heart center or anything else that suits you, that makes sense in your body. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I hope I'll see you all really soon.